Shall we wait for a couple of minutes?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah? Okay.
Hi. Oh wow. Oh, it's from.
Could I please have a few emojis by everybody before the presentation? Can you try? Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, it's posted.
Okay. Everything has been muted. Everyone has been muted now. Okay. Shall we start now? Yeah? Okay.
Okay. Shall we start?
Let me, yeah.
Yep.
So hello everybody. Thank you for being here to attend Lazaros Gonidis presentation. My name is Anna Xigua and I and team are the hosts of the Diversity and Access track in the Educators in VR conference. Lazaros Gonidis is a lecturer in cognitive psychology and cognitive neuroscience at the University of Kent School of Psychology. His research interests are concerned with non-substance addictions and time perception and virtual reality and its effects on perception. Lazaros is interested in the effects that virtual reality immersion has on our time perception, perception of what is real, and decision making. Furthermore, whether immersion in artificial environments can affect our well-being and human-to-human interactions. Lazaros, to you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Anna and team, for inviting me, and thanks everyone for coming and watching this talk. So I'm going to talk to you today about virtual reality psychological research. Before we do that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. My first virtual reality experience was actually back in the 90s, believe it or not, when I was like, let's say, a teenager back then, and I visited a computer shop where they had the virtual reality equipment. I tried it for 2 minutes and I almost felt like I would lose my life. So luckily things have moved on quite a lot since then, and my actual virtual reality psychological research experience was back in 2015, only 5 years ago, but in virtual reality, I think the last 5 years have been a long step forward. What I actually did, I wanted to run an experiment using virtual reality and Minecraft. And that was because we published a paper where we found that people playing Minecraft had some effects on their decision making, and I was looking at ways of making that immersion even greater. So I thought, you know what, why don't we try it with virtual reality? So that will immerse the gamers even more. The only problem was, it was almost impossible to actually make Minecraft work in virtual reality. So at the time we had the Oculus SDK 2, for those of you who are kind of familiar with the term, so that was just a development kit. And Minecraft itself back then did not officially support virtual reality. So we had to go through a number of hoops and a number of tutorials to make it work. It was a pain. It was a huge pain. It would work for some participants, it wouldn't work for others. However, for those who worked and for those who did not feel dizzy, they really enjoyed it. But for psychological research, I wouldn't really recommend it. I wouldn't recommend anyone going through what we kind of went. However, looking at now, things have progressed quite a lot. Minecraft now officially supports virtual reality. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to get immersed in a virtual reality space, as long as you have the game installed and your Oculus headset installed, which actually makes using Minecraft now for psychology experiments a walk in the park, or a virtual park, if you may say. So that's a big difference. So what else actually has changed since 2015? I would say the overall quality of hardware, there is no comparison really. The headsets that are out now, they are huge improvements, both in visuals but also in immersiveness, how responsive they are, how light they feel, how well they represent the visual and the virtual information. Furthermore, there is a huge variety now when it comes to solutions. So we have software that works already out of the box. We install a game, we install a platform, and everything works straight away, which for a psychology researcher is a great thing. We don't really want to spend weeks and weeks upon problem solving. That's not really what we aim to do. What we really want to focus on is how to measure human behavior and how to get consistent experience across our participants, so that way we can minimize any variation in the measurement and any errors. Furthermore, back in 2015, we were really limited in either using mods from gamers or a very short list of virtual reality platforms. Things now are way different. Way more developers out there develop stuff in VR, but also platforms such as Unity or Unreal and quite a few others allow you to develop your own things for free and use them in virtual reality. So to that extent, things have moved quite a lot. Furthermore, the technical support is now much better. The base of users that use virtual reality around the globe is huge. If you have any issues, all you need to do is post a question, go on Discord, go on Slack, go on all sorts of other fora, and you will find help almost immediately, within minutes, or if not minutes, within hours. So we really rely a lot on virtual reality enthusiasts to actually progress with our psychology research, on top of having experts in our schools that deal with these issues, of course. So if we kind of have a quick look why these aspects are really important for psychological research, we really depend on immersiveness. We really want the experience to be very immersive. We want to convince our participants that they are participating in a real life scenario. We also want equipment and software that is available. Running an experiment in 2015 would usually require you to spend thousands of pounds on contracts, on support companies, tens of thousands of pounds every year just to maintain your equipment. Now you can just buy it with hundreds of pounds, and really the maintenance is zero. All you need after that is a room that you can deploy yourself. And obviously the support we get from software companies such as Unity or Unreal, but also hardware such as Oculus or Vive and quite a few others. So we feel very well supported, and we overcome any difficulties, and all the focus now is on the actual research. And that's quite important both for research itself, but also for educational purposes. Sorry, that was, I think, a bit of a lag there. So I'll give you now a couple of experiments where we use virtual reality, so you get an idea, and then I will also explain to you why this was useful from an educational perspective, and at the end I will summarize mentioning also why this is important from an inclusiveness perspective. So what you see here is just a very boring, simple 3D room with a number of participants where they are set in a real-life situation. This was built in Unity, so the students who worked developing this had to acquire new skills in Unity. Those who were a bit more enthusiastic, they also learned about animations and Blender. Also, those who didn't have really coding or programming experience, they could use visual scripting, which is a way to make software do the things you want to do without typing any programming commands, only by using logical flowcharts. And in reality, the way we used this software, this setup here, is the person who was wearing the virtual reality headset was the only human in the room. The rest of the avatars were non-human, were pre-programmed. But they helped the participant, or they deceived the participant into believing that he was in the presence of other humans. So as you can imagine, this is very important for simulating real-life scenarios instead of just giving a questionnaire and asking questions. The participants now really believe they have to answer these questions in the presence of other humans. A second example is decision making itself and also navigating through a virtual reality space. And I'll explain a bit more why this is important. So what you see here is just a very basic maze, and we would have randomly created spheres, and the participant will have to walk through and at the same time performing a couple of tasks. And for us that was important to be as realistic as possible and also mapping the virtual distance to the physical distance, which was 5 years ago was hugely expensive to do and very difficult to code. Now with an Oculus Rift S, we didn't even need sensors. All we needed was just a very well lit room with clear walls and a few obstacles, and suddenly someone could walk around and perform the task. So it was really immersive and helped us find really high quality data that we could generalize. And again, the students involved with this project, depending on their ability, they could learn a number of different programming skills. Another setting that I use quite a lot, that's slightly different than the previous ones, because here we are very interested in immersiveness, but we do not really care so much about realism. And we use Minecraft for this one. If you play Minecraft, it's a very weird kind of game because it follows the rules of gravity of real life, but it clearly looks non-real. And that plays a few tricks with our minds and our brains. So we know that what we are actually seeing in front of us is not real, but we are fully immersed into that. And we have quite good evidence that that can affect our time perception and also affect our decision making. It makes us being a bit more receptive to misinformation and so on. And again, this is just an example of things we can achieve in psychological research just by using software straight out of the box. All you need to do is install Minecraft and use it in your research. You don't really need any other technical skills. So this is great for students really who want to participate into research, but they don't really have the necessary coding or programming skills. They only want to see the data collection side of it. Now, why virtual reality is important and why do we use it besides simulating the environment itself? So one very big strength of using virtual reality is, sorry about that, I thought I had the phone muted, apologize. So Why this is really important? So first of all, it really gives us better quality data because participants are really enthusiastic in actually coming in and taking part in the experiments. They really, really want to get involved. Furthermore, it makes our situation, our experimental paradigm closer to real life. So we have findings with higher ecological validity. We feel that we represent the real life scenarios much better than just asking participants to read about them and then make decisions. Also, we have higher chances of deceiving our participants when necessary. So fewer chances of them realizing what is really going on, which in psychology and general behavior research we want to avoid. If participants know what this is about, then they start thinking about it, and that really affects their behavior. We don't really want that. Besides the research sides of it, we also have very clear educational outcomes. So we have our students that they learn really transferable skills. They learn about basics of animations, they learn about basics of programming, they learn about different pieces of software that in most cases are open source and free, like Blender, which then they can apply into jobs in the industry. And especially for psychology students, that's really, really valuable because it gives them a glimpse of different job prospects that they might have not considered before. Because most psychology students enter this degree by having specific views. They haven't really considered alternative career paths. Also gives everyone up-to-date technology knowledge and views. They know really what's going on the hardware and software wise, so they make better decisions as consumers. And for me, the greatest strength of this approach is it gives the researchers and the participants greater ownership of the project. They get really involved with the data collection. They see the project from week to week, and they really take greater ownership of that. So a couple of very brief conclusions that I would like to extend a bit more as we approaching towards the end, and then we can have some questions. VR in the last 20 plus, maybe 30 years, has really made a number of appearances, but it was really never here to stay. Now we really believe that it's here to stay. So we use virtual reality for both manipulating environments, but also researching virtual reality itself, because it's here to stay. We hear about more and more applications that platforms such as Facebook are releasing all the time, or PlayStation are now making a bigger part of the platform, which means we really need to know how this affects human behavior and decision making. Furthermore, it's so much simpler to use this time around than previous cases. All you need to do is install your software, set up your hardware right, and you're ready to go. I remember when I first worked with SDK 1, which was a really bulky piece of software, you needed a couple of hours to get everything right, and then there was almost nothing out there to try it with. Now, you need a few minutes, and then you download your first application, and you're ready to go into a virtual reality space and enjoy it. We also believe it has clear research outcomes this time around, because we don't really have to worry anymore about technicalities. We don't have to worry about technical issues. All we have to worry about is setting up our experiment as methodologically sound as we can, and then get into collecting data and examining human behavior. Also, we definitely believe that it has clear educational outcomes, and especially when it comes to including and being inclusive for different students from different backgrounds and also with different abilities. because setting up a virtual reality project can be as simple as you want it to be, but it can become as technical as you wish it to be. So if you really want to develop your technical skills, you can get into programming, you can get into 3D graphics, you can get into animation, you can get into sound. Engineering. Sound is a really important part of virtual reality, immersiveness, and so on. What we really want to see as we move forward, we also want to see virtual reality used in education to allow students to participate when they actually and physically cannot be in the learning experience room. So this is some of the projects we are working on for the near future to examine to what extent students attending virtual reality lectures and lessons feel as included as they would feel if they were in the physical room itself. So I think that kind of sums up everything I had to talk about today. It was just a very brief overview of different aspects or of psychological research. So I think now we can open the room for any questions, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Lazaros. Thank you very much. So could you please raise your hand if you have any questions? I'm trying to give access to hand raises, allow hand raises. Okay. Any questions? Okay, Brent, we are all ears. You can talk now, Brent. Hello?
I think are the mics muted? It looked to me like they're all muted.
Bear with me a second, Lazarus. Okay. Yeah.
Oops.
Okay. So, yeah, I can see Tony. I haven't raised his hand. Okay, Tony, you can talk now.
Do you have anything online, published online for your studies?
For the virtual reality ones, not yet. We're now in the process of reviews, making some decisions. Our first published study with Minecraft, is published. So if you go on Google Scholar and type in my name and Minecraft, it will come up, and then you can read all about being immersive in Minecraft and the effects it's having in decision making. The only reason we still haven't published our virtual reality studies is because it tends to be a lengthy process. The data collection in virtual reality sometimes takes a while, and then you need to work quite well through a number of different experiments and then finalize the manuscript. So we have now actually 2 papers under review at this stage, so hopefully we'll get positive news real soon.
Thank you, Lazarus. Any other questions?
Yeah, so Roxanne,
Tim, would you like to ask?
Yeah.
Oh, I can see a hand raise.
Yeah, hi Roxanne, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry I missed the intro due to a time issue, a time zone issue. Thank you for presenting on the psychology of VR. And my question is more focused on the ethical aspects of doing no harm or preventing harm. And can you discuss a little bit about your research in that area, or if you've done or intend on doing research to further along your studies that you're currently working on in the ethical aspects of using VR to prevent harm?
Good. So I will talking more about it from the perspective of well-being. Is that your question? Because the way we use. Yeah. So that's not something we haven't really got into preventing self-harm and harm. We've only used it so far as a way to enhance well-being with mindfulness meditation, and how that allows us to kind of relax and feel more like we're present in the now, and kind of relieve ourselves from stress. So I haven't done anything on preventing self-harm. I have colleagues in our school who work with kind of more criminal behaviors and how they use VR to measure these, but it's nothing has to do with the self-harm. So I really cannot say about myself, but from what I can kind of infer from work that has been done by other researchers, this is a highly sensitive topic, and it needs to be addressed both with VR and non-VR manipulation. So it's something that needs, if you have an interest in that topic, if you wanted to send me an email, then I can send you a few links that you can follow up. But personally, I haven't done research in preventing self-harm.
Cool. If anybody have any questions, just use the raise hand button on your right side, okay? And then Red Paint, go ahead.
Red Panther, can you hear us?
All right.
Red Panther, can you hear us?
We can hear Red Panther's phone.
All right, we'll move to the next one.
Perhaps in the meantime, I can quickly ask Lazaros a quick question, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. In one of the presentations this morning, Lazaros, we were talking about the use of different senses in virtual reality, and you're coming from a psychological aspect. One of the things that was mentioned this morning is about the use of smell and the ethical issues that relate to the use of smell to try and give that more immersive experience in virtual reality in whatever context it's going to be. Is that an aspect of research that you've looked at all?
No, I haven't looked into smell and virtual reality. I would say it's probably the most difficult sense to accurately investigate in virtual reality, mainly because it's difficult to find specific audios that have been standardized and used safely. There are some out there, but they are outside my expertise, so I haven't really looked into that. What I investigate more is really how affecting lighting and how affecting audio and visual discrepancy. For example, I manipulate the lag between seeing an action and hearing about it. How does this affect our realism? I'm more into the audio visual investigation than the actual smell or tactile and other senses.
Right. So in the context of platforms, you were talking about Minecraft earlier on.
Yep.
Have there been any other platforms or any other gaming applications that you've used as a basis of your research, or is it primarily Minecraft as a starting point?
No, we use Minecraft for that specific paradigm of lowering realism but increasing immersiveness. I've used ArtSpace VR actually for another of my experiments where I want to measure whether interacting in virtual reality can help us feel less anxious when we're talking about personal problems, which is one of the papers that is under review. Gaming-wise, nothing more than Minecraft. We are now reached the stage after working on this for a few years that if I want something, I just create it myself in Unity, and I have students helping me with smaller tasks in Unity. We also use I think they were used to be called Facebook rooms. There was also virtual reality. Spaces or something.
Yeah, Facebook
now that has been discontinued, I think, and now we're waiting for the new product to be announced. but that was also part of the investigation of, what, do you prefer talking to someone about difficult topics face to face, or do you prefer that conversation to happen using avatars? We have some interesting findings in that, that depending on how people feel, where they stand in anxiety, they might actually prefer the physical interaction more to the virtual reality one, but then the more anxious they feel, the more they want the virtual reality interaction instead of the physical one.
That's interesting, because I would have expected it to be the other way around, that if you're more anxious, you would want empathy from a fellow human. But actually what you're saying is that they prefer more of a virtual environment if they're more anxious.
Yeah, which is kind of surprising, because what you say, there is actually research out there that people would prefer the physical interaction, but surprisingly that's what we found, and we are now working into following it up with more research on that.
Interesting. Because you've got whole aspects of colour theory and audio spatial awareness as well, which I suppose would also come into your investigation of Minecraft, because obviously you've got psychological based expectations in Minecraft that, the grass is green, the sky is blue, the dirt is brown, that sort of thing.
But yeah, exactly. But I mean, one of the interesting studies we've done with Minecraft is we wanted to see how people feel with regards to hurting animals or not. So we asked players to walk around and explore, or we asked them to actually walk around and try to hunt animals down. And we've seen that even though in questionnaires people will say, I wouldn't want to hurt animals, in actual Minecraft setting, because animals in Minecraft do not really look like animals, they look like something like a box with yeah, exactly. So that kind of shows that Minecraft itself is good for eliciting specific behaviors, because it removes a specific layer of realism. Obviously some other layers still stay and survive, like as you said, the lighting, the cycle of day and night. If you fall down, you will feel some damage to a certain extent and so on. But we still find it very useful in manipulating the realism, the perception of realism.
Very interesting, thank you.
Thank you, Lazarus.
Thank you, everyone.
Any more questions? No more questions?
Cool.
I think
Okay.
Lucas has got...
Just now. Yeah, just now.
Okay, Lucas, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for your talk. It was very nice. I have a question regarding, well, I don't know how to put it easily into words, but I'll try. So, I'm thinking about have you ever thought about like substitute one perception with another one through VR? So let's say that we all have like this feeling of movement where we move and we feel it in our body, and it just we feel that we move. And have you ever thought about to substitute this feeling with, let's say, something that is vibrating around your stomach, and to use it for research and how it changes our way of thinking, way of perceiving the world of VR. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So it's a really good question, because really what is happening in virtual reality is, in a sense, we are trying to trick our mind into believing we are somewhere that we're not. And we mainly do that from visual information, right? And now, lately, there has been quite a lot of development in also tactile information and getting some touch feedback and so on. Now, substituted in a sense with another sense falls into kind of deeper waters of also introspection, and to what extent do we have a real accurate measurement of what we are feeling at the moment. Because one of the effects of immersiveness actually is that we lose touch with ourselves and we are becoming more present in the actual environment. So to answer your question as best as I can, I haven't thought about substituting senses, only because, and not thinking about it now, I think it would be too difficult at this stage unless you have a specific, clear research paradigm of thinking of a way of a reason why to do it. So let's say, for example, I'm in a virtual room where I expect specific things to make specific noises, but I replace these noises with colors, right? If you think it in a sense of kinesthesia and stuff like that. So what would be my research questions? Why would I do that? Is it because I want people without the synesthesia, let's say, characteristics to feel like it? And then what would I be measuring? You see what I'm trying to say? So it's very important to remember and keep in mind, in psychology, virtual reality is a medium, is means to answer questions. So it's the question that drives us first, and the virtual reality, we use it to get to that question, if that makes sense. So what you're asking is a great question, but we need to take a step back and think, what is my actual question? What do I want to answer? It may be to simulate what is the thought process of someone their senses are a bit mixed up. Then I should do it. Then I should go forward and do it. Otherwise, it's a very interesting question, but I wouldn't know how to tackle it personally.
Hey,
Okay.
how do
Thank
I
you.
Thank you, Lazarus.
How do I sit?
Oak School, have you got a question for Lazarus? Hello? Hello? I can see a hand raised from Oak School.
Rather, like if we're at the same place, you can friend somebody, you can put it our
Folks should be able to ask that question.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think I see anyone else. Anna, do you see anyone else want to ask a question?
No, I was in Oak School, but it disappeared from the hand raises list.
Yeah.
Shall we wait a bit?
Yeah, we can wait a couple more minutes and see.
We can perhaps tell everybody what the next session is, Anna, while we're waiting, see if there's any
Yeah, I was waiting if anyone else had another question. That's why I didn't jump into that. So in 20 minutes from now, in the same room, there is a presentation by Tynes, creating engaging immersive educational experiences. And at the same time, 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is 5 p.m. UK time, in Engage, Caitlin has a presentation with Tim and I host again. So both presentations are exactly at the same time, so you have to decide where you're going to be attending. Thank you very much for today.
say this, the session, sorry, Anna, the session in Engage with Caitlin is actually going to be quite, it's rather than a presentation, it's going to be a immersive experience, let's put it that way. So if you need to relax a little bit and you need to just like wind down, then maybe the mindfulness session over at Engage is going to be one to go to, and it's quite an immersive experience. I've been through it myself and it's really enjoyable.
Tim needs his megaphone on.
That's in about 20 minutes.
Thank you, Tim.
Tim, unless he's in the other room, I just can't hear him, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't have my megaphone on, sorry. Yeah, I'll just say that again because I'm not sure everyone heard me. The session that's in Engage in 20 minutes time is with Caitlin. It's a mindfulness session. And if it's something that if you need to rest and relax and just like kick back and, you know, just chill out a little bit, then that's going to be a really good session to go to. It's a very immersive session rather than just a presentation. So if you need to just like relax a little bit, then I would recommend that's a really good session to go to, and it's worth it. and that's over on the Engage platform. So if you haven't got the Engage platform, you need to get it downloaded, make yourself an account and jump in.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt him. Oak School seems to be back, so could you ask the question now?
They should be able to talk now.
Yeah. Which counts as awaiting access.
Yeah, well, I've
Awaiting
actually unmuted
consent.
everybody, so
Yeah. Did you?
I've just unmuted everybody
Go
just so
ahead
we could
and
hear
unmute
it.
yourself
Okay.
so that you can ask your question. Click the little microphone to unmute yourself. Oak School, please. Oak School is right over here with the red hat. Anna, do you see her?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see it on the list.
Okay, I think she must have pulled it off because I did see it too.
Yeah.
Okay, not to worry.
Yeah, no one on the list right now.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
That was a very interesting presentation, Lazaros. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you very much,
Thanks, everyone.
Lazarus.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody, for
Let's have
attending.
some emojis for Lazaros. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so just under 20 minutes time there'll be another session in here. So if you want to hang on and learn about creating engaging immersive educational experiences, then hang on in here. Or if you need to go and have a comfort break, you can do that too. Or you can join us over and engage for a mindfulness experience that you've probably never experienced before. Thanks very much, everybody. Great to see you all, and thank you for coming along.
Thank you.
They asked me to talk.
Right.
Hey, Brett. Ooh,
Hey. Ooh, man.
well, that was fun.
I don't like when people post portals at all.
I don't. It's been mostly pretty good. You know, all the sessions I've done. That's the first time I've seen two.
Same here.
Really good. Mm-hmm.
Speakers are really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yo, can you hear me? Yeah, this was good. Thanks, Hannah.
How's everything?
Thank you. Thank you,
Good.
Daniel.
Everyone was really great. Thank you for the mods and everything. That's good. And host. What platform are you on? Oh yeah, I got my camera too.
Yeah, that's good.
What platform are you on? Two of me in one room. Unbelievable.
I'm gonna go check to see if the portal's working now because people are not looking.
Can you
for
hear me
using it,
clearly?
but there's supposed to be a portal to social space.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Will you let everybody know that too as well?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Depends on whether if they're hanging on here to what's the next thing that doesn't make a difference.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I'm going to check.
Ignore Brett.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Your sound's very low. Let me see if I turn my volume is up. All right.
Hold on, let me.
Oh, I'm amplified. Let me take that off.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think so. I hear other voices, so it's confusing. I see your lips moving a little bit. So, wave your hands if you can.
There's other people in here, right?
Yeah, a lot of other people. Right.
So when the conference starts, is something supposed to show up on the screen or on the black screen? Because I can't seem to see it.
So, what platform are you in?
Like can.
You go to the circle and
Yeah, what platform are you in?
Hallo, hörst du mich jetzt?
you can add friends by searching
I'm in
and
alt.
putting in the
I'm in alt.
username.
Alt
Right, no,
space.
but I mean,
Hello.
what hardware are you using? Oculus Quest?
Hörst du mich jetzt, Lukas?
I got my
Lukas, hörst du mich?
I got my
Ich höre dich.
Samsung
Ich höre dich.
Gear VR.
Oh, okay. I'm using an
ja.
Oculus Quest, and so
Hörst du mich?
sorry if I delay. There's a little bit of an echo every time I speak. I hear
Davor habe ich dich
you
irgendwie
finish my
nicht gehört. Ich
sentence
glaub,
5 seconds
jetzt habe ich
later.
das gecheckt.
So in the
Genau, das
yeah.
rot leuchtet. Das rot leuchtet, ist
It's because that lock.
Ja, genau.
I think that the Gear VR thing
Das ist sehr komisch.
may not be able to see the slides as much. I discovered that Windows actually has a client for this, so you might be able to see the slides if you log into Windows.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Ja, krank, ey. Hi.
So let's take a selfie and send it to Clayton. I'm going to turn around, so you hold still.
All right, you got it.
Das ist irgendwie schon mega witzig.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Ja, wir hören dich. Ja, hallo.
Are you still on megaphone? Somebody is.
Hallo. Hi, Kat.
Wow, you're not there.
Ich bin Lukas.
Let's try that again.
Hang on.
All right, you got it.
Ja, krass, oder?
No, stay where you are. There you are.
Es ist, also,
Now, there we go. I just muted everybody, and then I'm muting everybody.
Oh.
irgendwie.
Just so everybody knows, you guys are.
Hört ihr mich wieder?
Just so everybody knows, you guys are on mute, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
Hat uns dismissed oder gemutet. Ja, genau. Ich glaube, weil die bereiten die neue Präsentation vor.
That's fine.
Wahrscheinlich.
And I jumped. Right, do we have... Jay's not still here, is he?
Ob man irgendwie aus, ich dachte, wir wären jetzt raus aus dem Raum, ob wir irgendwo hingehen können, wo die uns nicht mehr hören.
No.
Ja, genau. Aber ich glaube, man hört alles. Egal, wo man steht.
Ja.
Nee, nur diese Speaker, wenn die sich auf laut stellen, dann hört man die überall, egal wo man ist. Aber uns
Bexley,
hört man
doing the
quasi
next
nur
one?
in dem Bereich, wo wir jetzt gerade stehen. Ja, warte, ich setze mal aus, ich gehe mal ein Stückchen zurück.
Yeah. This is my last one for this is my last one for today.
Ja,
I'm
la
gonna
la
get
la
in
la
the
la.
UK
Hallo, hallo,
warning,
hallo,
so
hallo,
if you're
hallo,
not-
hallo. Hörst du mich noch?
Oh, okay.
Ja,
Nice,
hörst du
I'll see
mich?
you
Ich hab dich
tomorrow.
noch gehört, aber du bist auf jeden
All
Fall
right,
leiser
girls. Be
geworden.
safe. Have a good
Genau.
I will.
Be good.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping.
Ja, ist krass.
Oh,
Sich
who
das
said
an
that?
alles gewöhnen.
Oh yeah, I know
Ja,
it's a
Kat,
female
was,
voice, so.
warum bist du hier?
Thank you for helping too.
Wir haben über das Event auf Twitter erfahren und wir haben
Whatever events they got going on right now.
Microsoft Teams gemacht. Und
Mhm.
da habe ich dann
I agree.
I don't know.
überlegt, was wir noch so machen.
We got NASA
Da
tonight.
kam irgendwie VR und
Ja.
die Psychologie hat jetzt eingeplant. Das war jetzt die erste Session.
Ja.
Und ihr?
Lukas ist unhöflich.
We got a lot of cool
Ja, ich weiß, aber bei
Of course,
dir
yeah.
hört ihr mich noch? Ja. Ja, weil irgendwie hat es stoppt.
When you try to friend me, I will love everyone. Yes,
Ich
agree.
höre euch auch.
Wait, which one are you?
Aber es ist irgendwie mega komisch.
Too bad at telling me. Oh, you're calling a robot like me, Steve. I'm
Aber wenn ich
leaving.
jetzt
How dare you?
bin ich euch zugedreht oder?
Look at office kid. You're old.
Jetzt?
How dare.
Also ich sehe
Okay, I
nicht mehr. Also bei mir ist das Bild hängen geblieben leider, deswegen tut mir leid. Das sollte keine Unhöflichkeit sein. Ja, das ist ein abgefahrenes Format, als ich vorne reingekommen bin und diese Treppe runtergelaufen bin. Okay.
Dancing?
Weil man sich wirklich so gefühlt hat, als man da wäre.
Can you hear me?
Ja. Ja. Ich habe auch nicht mit so einer Bühne, glaube ich, gerechnet oder so. Das fand ich irgendwie
Where are you?
Der redet, das ist echt, aber es ist schon auch ein bisschen spooky, wenn man immer irgendwelche Stimmen hört und nicht zuordnen kann, woher die kommen. Ich glaube, Lukas ist jetzt ganz raus.
Ja, das stimmt. Das kann sein.
Ja.
Ihr kennt euch aber irgendwie oder seid Kollegen?
Ja,
Okay.
genau, wir kennen uns. Wir sind gerade dabei, eine
So, oops, Anna?
Ah.
Hello, Anna. Hi. Did you tell everybody to head into the social space, or are we ready for the next event?
Ich springe nicht immer irgendwo hin, aber ich weiß nicht warum.
You're muted.
Entschuldigung, ich bin gleich wieder zurück. So,
All right, I'm going to get the next speaker set up.
Laurel?
Yes.
Hey, it's Carlos up here
Hi, Carlos.
in the rafters. Good morning.
Hi.
Hey, I'm just... Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Were you streaming?
I did not. I recorded the thing. I still haven't been
Beautiful.
able to get in touch with Mark, but I noticed that there's a camera guy behind me dancing, and I'm trying to see if I can get in touch. He's over here on the stands. Oops.
That's Joshua. He just stepped in to help out, so the more the merrier. So
Oh, okay.
Joshua, where did he go? Wherever he went,
I'll-
you guys can connect. All right, I need to get the next speaker set up.
Yeah, go ahead,
You guys
Laurel.
come on up here. Put Lathian
Genau.
here.
Ja, sorry, ich bin.
And,
Ich war kurz mal wo rausgeflogen. Ja, genau.
Looks like we can't access the stage.
Jetzt besser?
Yeah, it's
Ja.
I don't think I can access the stage.
Ja, tut mir leid, hat mich rausgeworfen. Leider.
You can't?
Aber ja.
I cannot. Well,
Oh.
that working.
Yeah, you should have all the access on here. As long as we have your username. Okay.
Ah ja, du bist
So,
gar nicht.
you ready to paste in the link, or do you need help with that, or?
I don't see the button that was there previously to do so.
Yep, it's
in the
still there.
register.
Okay.
Ja.
All right, let me find.
Also ich finde, es ist halt wirklich nicht weit weg von
Alright, hold on
dem,
just a second.
wie es wirklich ist, auf so einer Konferenz zu sein. Also man hat halt so ein bisschen eine kleinere Schwelle, so eine. Also das hilft ja einem schon irgendwie, finde ich, mit dem Avatar. Kann man schon viel entspannter rangehen. Aber es ist schon auch eine soziale Situation und das merkt man
I'm in
von der
here, but I'm
Kamera.
not supposed to be in here.
Du hast ja vorhin eine Frage gestellt und das war schon.
What do you need?
Aber das Englisch
I'm in
ist
here,
einfach schwer, das zu formulieren.
Oh.
Ja, ich würde
Mega cool. Ja, mach mal.
Team 23 zu diesem Meat and Wine Ding.
Ja, mach mal.
Und dann hören wir uns morgen, ne?
Ja, wir hören uns morgen. Bis dann.
Katrin hat mich auch gefreut, dich kennenzulernen.
Okay. So I don't see host
Jetzt kann glaube ich nicht winken, aber zumindest habe ich noch nicht rausgefunden, wie ich meine Hände bewege.
Tschüss.
Klatschen. Tschüss.
Ah,
Viel Erfolg
klatschen.
euch.
Yes, there we go.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Yeah.
I'm getting some odd behavior.
There's no presentation going on.
Ja, krass, ey.
So we're we're trying to get. I don't have your slides. Did you submit them? Who did you submit them to? Nick
Me?
or Anne?
So Nick was re-entering.
Me? Met de PowerPoint.
Okay.
A link to Nick.
The same problem was in a room. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. There. All right.
Nick's coming back in the space to see if he can reset his tools.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. All right. So for the moderators, go find a place, get all happy and comfy. And
moderator with post panel.
you don't see it?
No.
Okay. All right. Hold on.
Nick was having.
Yeah.
Yes. Let me find it in Natter. Okay. And okay. All right. And Lana, you have it as well?
No, I don't.
I'll be over here. Dave's right.
So
Yeah.
I came back in, I have
You know, a second, Nick.
Die reclame van Engage? Ja, Engage. Yeah.
All right, now try everything.
there we go.
Let's do it again. Look at the left.
Okay, yeah.
No, you can't.
I can teleport, but I can't.
En mensen
Point
moeten...
and click on something else.
Afvanzeren.
Can you send me the link?
Zelf op plek zijn gaan staan, zodat ze echt gemengde avatars zijn.
And knows the link.
Okay.
So I can just play it
Manier die aan het
appropriately.
Okay, then let me have it. Let me have it.
Okay, it's bit.ly slash 1NPNL.
Een selfie gemaakt van ons.
Yeah, I have a remote control.
Okay, all right, let me get off the stage and, oops. So welcome to everybody. Sorry for the shift in speakers. The speakers will be starting in just a few minutes. Do know that there is also a social space if you want to ever hang out in it between sessions that is right out by the planet that is in the very back outside, and so you can hang out there. And then we have somebody in there that'll help answer some questions, but that's a great hangout space in between speakers. And we've got a great event that is coming up here in just a moment with Ann and Nick here, who's going to just rock us out in how they're changing everything in the world. So if you could just hang out for just a minute, we're going to finish getting them all set up. Everybody find a nice comfy spot right there. And if you could stay muted, that would be awesome. Unless you're talking to each other, that's fine. But if you're talking to somebody in the real world, we ask you to stay muted so it doesn't sound like you're crazy talking to somebody else. All right, so let me check with this. All right. Okay, the stage blocker keeps coming off. Are you guys touching the stage blocker button? So when you hit host tools, you'll see stage blocker. I want to make sure that stays on. It keeps people from jumping up on the stage, and I keep seeing it going off, and I want to know if it's a technical glitch.
So I've got an issue where I've got this thing that says I'm now a host, but I can't click OK anymore.
You can't click host tools anymore?
No, I don't have any pointers anymore. They've disappeared. All I can do is teleport for some reason.
I am being educated.
You may have to exit and re-enter. I don't know. That's new. Rarely does that ever happen.
Okay, I'll give it a try. This is the second time it's happened. But
Oh, very weird. Very weird. Hey, Nicholas, great. It's all your show. The slides are up. And you need headphones. Nicholas.
Oh, is my audio bad?
Yeah, I got an echo out of my voice is coming through you. Okay, all right. So, all set. You guys are got the show, and Serenity is here. We've got Lana's helping, and Julie's helping Maud. You're all set to go. The stage blocker keeps going off. Keep an eye on that. And I don't know why. I'm going to check with and find out what's going on with that. All right.
Wait, before we get started, can I check my audio? So is it still bad?
Let's check here now. Yep, you can still hear me.
okay, I think I'm good to go now.
Got your host tools back?
Yeah.
Okay. We have to remember to amplify our voice before we start.
Yeah, so both of you amplify your voices. And Nicholas will make sure that stage blocker stays on. And Serenity, if you can keep an eye on it too. I don't know why it keeps going off. All right, so it's 2 minutes to start. Sure. Thank you. And you guys are going to rock it. All right, he's re-entering.
Everything's back to normal now.
Yay!
Good.
We love it when it goes back to normal.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, I want to make sure that you can change the slides. You want to flip one forward? Beautiful. And everybody see the slides. How about some hearts? You can see the slides. All right. If you have problems seeing the slides, please re-enter the space. This goes across all of AltSpace. If you're having a problem with your device and you can see a black or gray slide screen up there, please re-enter the space. And Gaz, I know you love your quest or whatever it is. If you could sit your buns down in the seat, that'd be awesome. Gaz, Gamer Gaz, Earth to Gamer Gaz, Earth to Gamer Gaz. Okay, Gamer Gaz. There, beautiful. Thank you. All right, thank you. So everybody, I want to make sure we're waiting on Nicholas to come on back here. and we've got a great session setting up. Beautiful. And I want to also just take a second while we're waiting for Nicholas to come back and you guys get started. We have a minute to go. I just want to thank everybody. My name is Laurel, or Rel, and I'm the co-host of Educators in VR and producer of this amazing event. I want to thank all of you so much for being here, for making this, being a part of this groundbreaking, record-breaking event. It's just awesome. So Nicholas, you good to go? Testing audio?
Is my audio better now?
Let's see.
Hello.
Oh, it's beautiful, and now I don't hear me. So it's all yours, my friend.
Okay,
Take it
awesome.
away. Okay, thanks. And don't forget, we have the social room is open behind for afterwards. It's the teleporters in the very back by the globe.
Okay, so teleporters in the very back.
For the
okay, guys.
Afterwards, okay.
And Anna and Nick, are you guys ready to go?
We are.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just gonna help you guys with moderating questions, make sure there's no trolls in here. But yeah, let's get started. If you guys have questions, press the raise. Are we not doing the raise hand button this time? Rel, are we doing raise hands or no?
Yep, absolutely. Whatever you want to do.
All right, let me make sure that's okay. So allow. All right, guys. So you should see a raise hand button on your bottom right. So if you guys have a question during the presentation or just want to make a comment, press that. We'll call on you and megaphone you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and mute the audience just so we don't have any feedback in the meantime. And so press raise hand. We'll have some time for questions during the presentation. But yeah, Nick and Ann, you guys want to take it away? Just get started. I know we're already a minute in.
All right. Can everybody hear both of us?
I understand. Can you hear us all right? Let's do some hearts.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Excellent, excellent. Who here is an educator, an in-the-classroom educator?
Oh, it's your hand up.
Use your emojis to
cool.
show us with emojis.
How about any of you? Are you anyone developers building VR stuff? Nice.
Excellent, excellent. And using your emojis, if you could show us how many of you are from outside of the United States? Wow, excellent.
Great.
Any U.S. West Coasters here?
Oh,
Got
cool.
some East Coasters? And back to Hawaii. Oh wow. Okay. We actually both live in Washington State, in a place called Richland. It is on the dry side of the mountains, so don't think Seattle and rainy. We don't get that much rain here. And we are here today to talk to you about creating immersive educational experiences. Excellent. We're excited. This is our first time presenting in VR.
All right, so we want to kick things off. You can see our avatars, of course, but here's us in real life. My name is Nick Kramer. So I'm a software engineer at a Department of Energy research laboratory called Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. I work on creating interactive data visualization tools and creating virtual and augmented reality experiences. So I build software systems, and that's my focus. One of my colleagues, Cameron, he's flying back from Tokyo today, so he couldn't join us to give the presentation. But you're going to see a lot of his work that we're going to highlight throughout our presentation.
And I am Ann Wright-Mockler, and I am in the Office of STEM Education at the same national lab. I was a classroom teacher for several years before I joined the lab. And due to Nick bringing VR into the lab, I first got to see all the cool things he was doing. And then a couple of years ago, I got the opportunity to work on VR with him, and it's been an amazing experience. And I was telling him yesterday that it's interesting that there are now rooms where I am the VR expert, and I never would have thought that would happen. So kind of strange for me.
Absolutely. So what we want to do for our presentation is kind of tell you a story of how we created a series of virtual reality apps for educational purposes and some of the lessons learned that we gained along the way, and hopefully show you, how you might improve processes or your techniques if you're using or building a virtual reality educational app. So we had a chance to, oh, go ahead, Ann.
So a couple of years ago, almost, we got the chance, there was a little bit of internal funding and the idea that, hey, why don't we do some virtual reality apps for helping teachers and students learn about computer science. And so, of course, we brought Nick and Cameron and others on the team in and started seeing what we could do to do this.
So one of the things that we used to base our initial project on was the Computer Science Teachers Association educational standards. So these were standards that were out in the world, but were recently adopted by our state. And so they provided bands of different computer science topics and different age grade level bands. And for each of those intersections, what concepts should be taught to people at a given age level for a given topic area. There are a wide variety of topic areas within computer science, things like hardware and sensors, programming, logic, computer networking and the internet, ranging all the way up to some of the social dimensions of computing. And so for, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask how many of you, with your emojis, are familiar with the Computer Science Teachers Association standard? A couple of people out there. Okay. So we used those just as a starting point, and we actually brought in some experts in cybersecurity and networking to help us. Go ahead, Nick.
We looked across this educational standard, and we were interested in a wide variety of areas. But yeah, networking and the internet, some of the communications between computers, and some of the cybersecurity aspects were an area we honed in. We thought we could create interesting virtual reality application that could teach those concepts to young people.
As we were starting this out, we also got a little bit of funding from a local educational service district to do some workshopping with teachers around climate science, and they wanted to include a virtual reality app in that too. So although we had started working on the cybersecurity and network app, this became higher priority due to the timeline that we had to get something started and moving. So we consider the one that's now called Climate Island to be our first app. And we learned a lot of things that about VR as we were going through that. Because for me, for example, it was my first opportunity to actually get in VR and try things out. We had discovered the Oculus Go, which to me, when I started using it, seemed like a great classroom tool. Students didn't have to move all over the place. It was untethered, fairly simple to use, and the price point was what I considered to be pretty good. That's something that a teacher might be able to find some funding to get at least a couple of them to use in his or her classroom. So we started working on this Climate Island app, which allows the user to put some tiles in place to build their own virtual world, and then tells them how they did on some different dimensions in creating a climate neutral, climate change neutral type environment, something that would be good for us in the future.
Yeah, this was a fun app to build. We pulled it together pretty quickly. We had some great information from some of the climate scientists that we were working with and statisticians to help figure out, what the gameplay was going to be like, what the results were going to look like when somebody built their little city and power sources and food sources to see what sort of realistic long-term impact that might result in. So it was a fun project, fairly quickly pulled together.
And I would say some of our initial ideas were a little bit older than what we could do considering the funding source that we were working with, the amount of funding we had. But we still were pleased with how it came out. And we were working with educators to get some feedback, and then we got more feedback, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later. So some of what we really learned from that experience that led over into our creation of the next one, Network Collapse, we started thinking about how to really maximize the use of VR. So hopping into apps and really feeling like we were part of the experience were things like, I had gotten one where I was coasting through the circulatory system, and I thought, oh, if I can get really small and get into something and see it in a different way, or if I can take something that's really hard to understand because it's so big and shrink it down so that I can examine it in a different way. If I can have an experience that I couldn't set up in the classroom because it would be too complex or too hard to set up in the classroom, or maybe even too dangerous, that now I could let students play with fairly easily. Those were things that really helped to maximize the use of VR in a way that enabled me to do something I couldn't do otherwise.
So our second thing I think that we learned from building Climate Island was that while we had these educational standards that we started from to come up with our ideas, and we had a goal of making something that was fun, but also would teach. This one, had a bit of fun, but I thought, we could do a lot more. And Cameron, who was a key part of our team, he came from Hollywood. He built special effects for movies. He built video games. And so he really prioritized fun as a way of, pulling people in, making something memorable. And we realized after building Climate Island, there's a lot more we can do to prioritize fun, to increase that engagement and memorability of the apps we were creating. So I really encourage you, if you're going to build an app, really think about how you make it fun. So while we were wrapping up Climate Island, we started to turn our attention back to our computer science related apps with an emphasis on networking and cybersecurity. And that's where our second app, Network Collapse, was born. We continued on from Network Collapse and created other apps that we'll describe a little bit. But this kind of highlights the four primary that we've been working on, including Locating Luna and currently under development Code Catalyst. So while we were looking at this educational standard, we kind of revisit our process for designing the game, and we're starting to formalize it a little bit more. So we started with those educational objectives, those learning objectives, and we pulled in a wide variety of people, cybersecurity experts, people that defended our network, educators, other computer scientists, people that did a lot of gaming. We pulled them all together and we spent a lot of time brainstorming, real quick snippets, short sort of one-liner, ideas that you can write on a sticky, or what's the essential core of our app going to be to communicate this networking and cybersecurity. We took inspiration from different game types. We looked at things that were like a tower defense style game, or something that was a world building game. And so we threw out a lot of ideas. Some of those ideas, they were just okay. We realized they're just not good, and so we could trash those pretty quickly. We came up with a wide variety of ideas that we thought were pretty good, but we weren't ready to move on them. Maybe they were a little too challenging for the time and budget we had, or maybe they just didn't fit some of our goals. But they were good enough to set aside, so we archived those. But from our big yeah, go ahead.
There were ideas that were great ideas, but in terms of practical use in the classroom, didn't really fit. So our goal was to have experiences that would be 10 to 15 minutes. You could get the learning objectives down. And the reason we wanted that was because at this point, we felt like teachers would probably be sharing headsets among students. So they would need to have multiple students through them. They probably wouldn't want to have their students spend a whole classroom period in VR. So we wanted something that was short enough that it could then lead to more learning for students outside of the app, outside of that experience, that app. So for me, the other part was that I got to go play a lot of these types of games that I had never played before, to understand and think about how they might be useful in the classroom, or how we could do that with the content that we were trying to deliver.
Yeah, from our big swath of brainstormed short ideas, we selected one that focused on sort of turning the player into being a router, where their job would be to route network packets. And so we took that idea into sort of a deep dive process where we thought about what's the user going to see, what actions are they going to perform, how are they going to have points, how are they going to be successful or fail in the game. So we started sort of fleshing out all the details of what that app might look like, what the experience might be, started doing student sketching, and really figuring out a lot of the detail of what we wanted to create. We didn't want to put the time and investment into building something until we really understood, is this going to work? Is it going to look good? Is it going to achieve our objectives?
I think another key piece here was that we tried to think broadly about the different types of students that might play a game, so that we could make it accessible and interesting enough for all students, so that a student didn't feel like that was an experience they couldn't have, because one of the objectives is to create a common experience that all students can have that then the teacher can build on.
Yeah, so this process ended up working fairly well for us, and we definitely learned that it was important to focus on that design process up front before we actually started getting too far into building the app. So we've got a couple screenshots here, and then we'll play a short video of the actual gameplay. So the premise of the app was that a user would be in this factory setting surrounded by conveyor belts. These conveyor belts would bring boxes representing data packets to them. Again, they're playing the role of a router. Their job is to pick up a data packet and route it on some outbound conveyor belt to its destination. And the idea here was that we're taking this sort of low-level electronics piece of networking equipment that you can't really see or visualize easily, and we're using a metaphor of this factory and boxes and conveyor belts to bring it to life, and we thought that was a really good fit for virtual reality. And we wanted to make this pretty high action. They were, have this sort of stream of packets coming in, boxes coming in. They got to pick them up and route them properly. If they're not successful doing that, the boxes start to fall on the floor. They can't be picked up. They're now dropped packets, and they build up around them. We wanted them to feel a little bit of stress when their network's starting to fail, when they're not being successful. That was the premise of the game, and that was an early screenshot.
Yeah, but not too much stress, because some of our early ones went so fast that it was hard for anybody to be successful. A couple of things as we were designing, we also at times would feel stuck, and we bring new people in and introduce them, and that would often help us get unstuck on what the ideas were that we were having. And you saw the bright, pretty colors in the previous slide. At a certain point, we said, oh, we have to make sure that we design a color palette that will work for colorblind students as well. And that also led us to encoding the packets, data packets with symbols, so that all students would be able to do this sorting piece. And then we also wanted to include the cybersecurity. So we thought about some key cybersecurity tools that are in networks for defense. The firewall was very attractive because it was something we could really visualize in there, this literal wall of fire. And of course, the virus scanning, actually scanning to see what's going on there. And we wanted to make this help students connect to their real world too. So when we were talking about the data packets dropping, we said, well, what happens when that's happening on your home router? People start to complain about what's happening on their computers. My game is laggy, my picture won't load, and you start to hear those voices until suddenly the router has to restart. So we
Yeah.
built that into the game as well.
I love that aspect of it. We had people go home and record their kids complaining about their game being laggy or their movie not loading, and then we integrated those into the game. Whenever you drop enough packets, you hear those in the background. We love that. You know, we've got this metaphor of the factory, but we have that connection back to the real world impact. And you know, what kid wouldn't be excited to deploy their literal wall of fire to protect themselves? That's pretty cool. So we're going to fire up a short video so you can see some of the gameplay here. You all are welcome to download it. If you've got an Oculus Quest, Network Collapse is available for free on the Oculus App Store. So we'll fire up the video and take a moment to watch this.
And it's on the Oculus Go, it's available.
Welcome to Network Collapse. Here you will take on the role of various types of networking hardware used every day in the real world. Your job is to move information from a source to a destination. Denial of service attack neutralized.
All right, so hopefully that gave you a better sense for the game. We could see some emojis out there, so maybe you like the looks of that. You can see how we learned a lot from climate science moving on to network collapse. We had something that was a lot more fun, a lot more action going on. We also took advantage of that VR environment by having it be 360 gameplay surrounding the player as they advance through levels. You can see we introduced concepts of Wi-Fi in the final game as well, where boxes aren't just coming in on conveyor belts, but they're also flying through the air. So we ended up being able to take...
We've used this game at outreach events as well as in the classroom, and some of the things we've discovered are that younger students just enjoy playing the game. They don't get as much of the learning out of it. Older students do get the learning aspects out of it. So for the learning, it's really targeted at middle school and high school level, but lots of younger kids have played it and enjoyed just the aspect of playing a game. And then recently I worked with a teacher, and at first he wanted to bring it in towards the end of the unit on networks. And I said, well, this is really something that I think works best if you bring it in at the beginning. So we worked together a while, and he trusted me. So he brought it in at the beginning, and even the day that we were doing it with students, as he was debriefing at the end of each class, he already said to me, I see how this is going to be really useful because students have a common experience. I don't know all the experiences of every student in my classroom because they come from such a diverse set of backgrounds. But here, there's a common experience that then they can all link to and then draw from their personal backgrounds to make further connections. So I saw him after the unit, and he's told me that it really did help to make a difference in helping students connect with the concepts in that unit. And then last year around this time, we were actually submitting this app to the Serious Play Conference Awards, and we were happy to find that it did receive a gold level award last year.
I was really excited to take Network Collapse all the way to being freely available on the Oculus App Store. It's nice to just be able to say, hey, anyone in the world, any student, any teacher can go download the app for free. And this was the first app that our lab was able to take to the store, so it was pretty exciting. On top of getting that award from the Serious Play Conference was a great feeling.
And some of our student concepts have been really great. My favorite is probably the kid who said, it's like I'm actually in the game. So it was a lot of fun to hear him say, and we've had students dancing their way through it too.
We had some good lessons learned from building network collapse. We definitely refined our process for designing a game, and I can't emphasize enough that that design portion is really critical. So, you know, think a lot, bring a lot of diverse people in to come up with ideas. Don't be afraid to throw ideas away and move on to something new, or get help getting sort of unstuck in building the next stage of the game. We also learned that for abstract concepts, like I said, computer networking, you know, it's hard to visualize what that's like. And so turning something abstract into something more concrete that we can experience in VR through a metaphor, like the factory and boxes as data packets, we think that worked really well and can be applied to a lot of different subject areas.
And VR is an ideal tool for that. It can feel a lot more, make it a lot more real feeling experience than what we sometimes manage to do in the classroom without that. And it allows for more complex opportunities as well.
All right, so the final app we want to highlight for you is called Locating Luna. So this one built on a separate part of the Computer Science Teachers Association standards, focusing on data collection, analysis, and visualization. So what we wanted to do, create an experience where a student would be able to basically create their own data, something that would make that data a little more personal, a little bit more linked to some activity they'd actually done themselves. And so this was relative to network collapse, was a pretty quick app that we pulled together. It looks good, but it's not nearly as high quality, I'd say. But it's got some cool elements to it. The user wanders around this sort of scary swamp, and with the goal of locating their missing dog, Luna. And they can do different activities in here. They can teleport around. There are torches they can light to sort of leave breadcrumbs of where they've been. There are different structures and landmarks they can visit. One really cool feature we added is you can call out. You can say, "Hey, Luna," and if your dog is nearby, you'll hear her bark, and that can help you narrow in on her location. And so, you know, eventually you find the dog. Really, what's going on behind the scenes is we're creating a log, a little data log on the VR device of every action they performed, where it was performed, and when it was performed. And so this is them generating their own data through playing this simple game. So with the data that's produced, at the end of the game, they get a little chart that is a live chart, kind of a almost treasure map-like styling that shows where they started, some of the activities they performed, like lighting torches, and where they eventually found the dog at the end. And then they get a cue for them to be reminded that they can go download the data and work with it themselves. And the cool thing about this is that we wanted to do was be able to transition from an in-VR experience to something that would take place back in the classroom. So here's a little snippet of the data log from one of the sessions. So it's a simple table. It's got the action performed, location that it happened, and the timestamp. And so we provided examples of what's possible with this data, just as ideas to inspire teachers and students for what they might do. But really, you could do a wide variety of things with the data. So here's a quick example that shows a line plot showing each movement, each teleport, and some of the key landmarks of where I started, some of the structures that are in the swamp, and where I eventually found the dog. And it's really interesting to see this as a student, I think, kind of top-down in retrospect. They've played it first person, but now they've got this top-down map of their movement. And they might come to some realization of, hey, I was right next to the dog when I started, and I just didn't find her. But I wandered around and eventually got there. Now here's another quick chart that we provided as an example. This one compares two sessions. So if you've got a classroom full of students and they all play through, maybe they play on the same headset and they play the same scenario, they can compare maybe the number of actions they performed. Did they teleport? Who teleported more, me or you? Who took longer, me or you? Was my strategy faster? What helped me find the dog more quickly? And so they can make charts out of their data to kind of try and answer those types of questions.
So is anyone else having trouble seeing the screen? Because I am. Okay, as long as it's okay for everybody else.
I can still see it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good for me too.
All right. So Ryan, we're on the photo of the teachers in unboxing.
Excellent. So one of the things we learned from these experiences was that getting educator feedback was really useful. Luna, we've taken into the classroom more recently and gotten a lot of feedback that will help us improve the app in the future. Things that are just, you necessarily don't think about when you work with students. How easy was it for the students to download the data, things like that, things that we could implement fairly simply in the app to make them better. We got a lot of that feedback on climate science because we were working with teachers in workshops, and the teachers were able to take it back to their classroom and then come give us student feedback that they had collected, and that helped us improve that experience. One of the things on climate science was that early you couldn't go in and just modify your island. You had to start a whole new island. And based on teacher feedback, we realized how useful it would be for learning if students could build a world and then they could then change that world to see if they could improve their world or make it worse. What were the factors in all of these things like energy and water that allowed them to then make it better or worse? So it turned into more of a learning experience. So that really turned out to be key.
So obviously the students have had a lot of fun playing Luna and Network Collab and Climate Island. We've got some great reactions in the classroom or at events that we've taken this to show young people. And I think they're having fun and learning along the way too. I love this picture of the kid with his hands up in the air. He was so excited when he won. So yeah, we go ahead.
I was just going to say, Luna Light Network Collapse can be played just for fun, and we find that a lot of younger kids really enjoy Luna just for fun. But you maximize the educational experience when it's done in a classroom, and then that data can be used to look at different things like what search method did you use versus another student? Because when you're in Luna, as long as you don't completely restart the game, you just restart that experience. You can play the same map, but then it randomizes it the next time. So I could go in and play and try one thing, and then my classmate could try another way, and then we could compare and think about what things might have made a successful search strategy, looking at data, and then go back in and play a new map and see what happened then.
Yeah, so we've had some good lessons learned from Luna, taking it into the classroom, getting student and educator feedback was great. We definitely learned we should do that as early as possible and as often as possible. Testing in the classroom, for me as a software engineer, was hugely valuable. It was just even subtle, small software tweaks that we could make to help a teacher, make it easier to use, easier to bring their data back into the classroom, bring it into Excel or Google Sheets easily. There were small tweaks that we could make to the software to help them out, or using the headsets just logistically with a lot of students in their space. It was really helpful to see that firsthand. So if you're a developer, I definitely encourage you to get out there, find some pilot students and teachers to work with, and get that feedback as often as you can.
So then we've been working on a new one called Code Catalyst. And in this one, we had that about 10 to 15 minute experience rule. And we decided that in this case, we could maybe combine those so that we had 3 separate experiences. So you are searching for some ways to go find some sources of energy to bring them together to create energy for your world that is about to run out. So you have 3 different experiences. One is around algorithms, one is around data structures, things like that. But each of those sets of puzzles would be 10 to 15 minutes so that a teacher could then have students revisiting that world. So we're partway through that and seeking funding to eventually be able to finish that experience.
Yeah, it's been a great partnership working with Anne on this. I love VR. I've been using it for building training experiences for corporate and government use cases, and applying those skills to education and learning more about how we can make this teaching fun, engaging, and using game-based design has been great. So it's been a lot of fun working together. So there's some of our key points that we highlighted through our talk. Thanks.
Sorry to interrupt you, but the screen is not showing for me. If you guys, so if you don't see the screen, give me some emojis. Okay, well, it looks like if you do see the screen, give me some emojis. How about that? I want to see it, make sure everyone else is good. It could just be me. All right. Well, I think that's most people, so I think we're good there. Yeah.
Okay, that was our closing slide. So we can open it up for questions. Nicholas, if you want to take over.
Okay, awesome. All right, so guys, so the way questions are going to work is you have a button on your bottom right. That's the raise hand button. Click on that, and then I'll give you a call, megaphone you. You could ask or comment whatever you like. And yeah. So let's go to Dex Yoshi first.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, hi. You were saying that you're using your game with students, right? But in this case, for example, for me, it has happened that when I try to test my protest with other people that don't have experience or have used never a VR before, they get the VR sickness. So in this case, how do you handle VR sickness with the students?
Well, that's the interesting part is that we haven't had students have that. Of course, our experiences are only 10 to 15 minutes long, which from what we understand, the research shows that if you have shorter experiences and build up, that can alleviate over time for most people that sickness. But adults frequently do, and we have them only spend a couple of minutes in there initially. So if we have somebody who's truly reluctant, we've had one student who said that they just get too motion sick. We have those videos available for them to at least see the experience too. But most students have not had any problems at all.
And just one
Yeah,
question. Are you using Unity to create the games?
Good question.
Yes, we're using Unity to create all of our games. Yep. Yeah, and just a little bit more on the motion sickness. So we do pay great attention when designing our games and some of the features of the Unity system that we use to really optimize and make sure we've got a high-performing, high frame rate, sustainable game, because that high frame rate really helps reduce motion sickness. If you've got a game that's poorly designed and not optimized well, if the frame rate's not high, it's not going to match up with their head motion, and that's going to make people sick for sure.
Exactly.
Awesome question. Okay, so if anyone has a question, again, press the raise hand button on the bottom right. I'll give you a call, and if not, I have Nick. And okay, we got Nick going first.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So what made you focus on creating a game rather than a framework, right? So it takes something like, excuse me, take something like a multiplayer tilt brush or like a sculpting app where an educator can bring in many different things and kind of be more freeform. The game kind of ties you into what the programmer, like the one lesson and the rubrics that would surround that. What made you focus on just doing a game rather than something that was, generally, adaptable?
I would say one of the problems that we were trying to address is that as computer science is expanding, computer science education is expanding, is that there are a lot of teachers who want to do the right thing and introduce these things to their students, but they don't know a lot themselves. So an open framework works better when you have an expert that can provide that guidance. So this was an opportunity for teachers to have something that supports them, supports their learning, and then they can support their students' learning as well. So that's one reason for that.
Yeah, I guess from the software engineering side, I feel like creating a framework can be a little bit more technically challenging. These are pretty low budget, short timeline activities, and I feel like a game, something that was really well defined, is relatively straightforward and cost effective for us to implement. So we just kind of went with that.
And these
Okay,
were also
great.
being
Thank you very
designed.
much.
These were also being designed for the Go, which has its limitations in terms of that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Let's go to Keely. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. Okay, so I wanted to say that the games looked amazing, and I'm kind of interested in how you guys handled the modeling and the graphics of the game, because I love the art style.
Yeah, that was really fun. So Cameron is super talented. We've also got some great artists within our team. My boss is actually has a degree in fine art. He can sketch on paper, pen and paper, and create some amazing things. So I kind of wish we'd included it. We typically do when we give a presentation on this. Some of the original concept art that was just hand drawn. We purchased the 3D model for the factory setting, just the overall setting, but all of the conveyor belt models, the vacuum blaster, some of the custom textures and things, those were all done by our team. The vacuum blaster in particular had some nice hand-drawn sketches created for it. Also, some of the concepts for making the game more accessible, including color blindness, double encoding packet source and destination information through symbology. Some of our user experience people focused on design ideas for that. And then our 3D modeler was able to then create the models necessary to support that and the texturing to bring into Unity for added gameplay.
Awesome, thank you.
And that's been really helpful too in visiting schools and talking with educators and students, and that we can show them the wide variety of careers and skills that are needed for things like this. So I always love to go and talk to art students and help them see how they can imagine other things, other possibilities to use their art.
Yeah, we had some students involved in creating the app early on and building some concepts. So we use things like Tilt Brush or Google Blocks to prototype out different design ideas for the conveyor belts early on, and some high school interns that helped us with that came up with some nice ideas that ended up making it into the game.
Do you make a lot of money?
Can you say that again?
JJ, can you say that one more time?
I think the question was, do we make a lot of money? No, actually. It's about, we have standard salaries where we work for a national laboratory, so it's a contract with the government, and the apps are free, and they're free so that they're accessible by all. So this is not a money-making proposition for us. Another question?
Kat, you're on.
Oh, sorry, thanks. So I just wanted to know if you guys were going to develop anything for the Quest, because one of my specific bummers with the Quest is there's really not a lot of like educational apps. You know, there's a couple that are really amazing, like Titans of Space and stuff, but I think for a lot of people who just want something more educational rather than like shooting robots in space or whatever, it would be really amazing to kind of have some of the stuff like what you were talking about, and I'm just wondering if you were going to plan to do that.
I would love to do that. Our apps do run on Quest, sort of in the compatibility mode, but through the Oculus App Store, they're not installable directly to the Quest. They'd have to be side-loaded, unfortunately. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird with the Quest how they've kind of set this higher quality bar, and you have to be much more involved communicating with Oculus to get on a path to being on that app store. It's just not something we've pursued yet, but I'd love to do it and completely agree with what you're saying. It's a little more limiting on what's available.
Is your stuff on SideQuest? Do you have a way to get it to sideload it?
We've not put it on SideQuest. We could explore that though. Yeah.
Cool.
And if you want to get access, maybe we can arrange that specifically in the meantime. But you can feel free to, I guess, friend me and follow up.
Sure. Thank you.
And Kat, I just added you as a friend myself too, so.
Tony, you're on.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so I have a quick question. We're here in Brooklyn, New York, and I was wondering what kind of analytics do you have as far as tracking and students' progress when creating these types of applications. When it comes down to the Common Core, are they getting better? With these applications they're creating, are they going downwards? So I need to know how this correlates. I understand that this is the future, right? But I need to know how is it correlating to how New York City standards doing, and how is that helping our students, rise above some of these things that's going on. So in the application, I would love to see how that is.
So we've actually had discussions about how we might build some analytics into an educational app to get exactly the kind of data that you're talking about. Right now, we can get the analytics that Oculus provides us about the use of the app. We can get teacher feedback, but we have no way of collecting the kind of analytics you're talking about yet. It has been a discussion point, and if we can find somebody who's willing to help us fund that, that's certainly something we'd like to pursue.
JJ, you're on.
Have you heard of full immersive VR? Or no?
Full immersive VR? What do you mean by that?
Like, I'm just trying to think. When you like put on a VR headset and it transfers your actual conscious to like a different body, except you're not moving in real life.
I guess I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry guys, my mic was muted for a second. Thanks Brex for pointing that out. So if you have a question, press the raise hand button. We'll give you a call. I've used your app before we even met, before I knew you, because I thought it was such an interesting app, and it's super fun. So you said you used Unity to develop it. Were there any specific packages you guys used? Like I know VRK is a very popular package, or did you build everything from the ground up?
We built from the ground up. We have our own sort of multi-platform framework that we've developed, and we use across all the VR work that we do. So yeah, it's homegrown. I've used VRTK. It's great. I guess at the time we were kind of building some of our apps, there was some uncertainty about its future. But yeah, we've decided to go with our own homegrown thing. But it does provide us with support across Go, Quest, Vive, Rift, our core things that we focused on.
Okay, that's awesome. Again, if anyone has any questions, raise your hand. I don't want to take all the questions, but I love talking about this stuff. So one of the, because I try to build computer science experiences as well, but with CS, it's a little bit different than traditional fields like chemistry or biology, where it's a lot more straightforward. So what's kind of your process for coming up with experiences? Like the networking one's amazing, but how do you guys like figure out what are you going to build next?
Yeah, a lot of brainstorming. Like we said in our presentation, I feel like we take inspiration from those computer science standards. We figure out, okay, it's like, this is the concept that we want to deliver. How can we bring that to life in some way that, these metaphors that take shape, games and puzzles, just a lot of idea generation. And then eventually we tend to end up with something that's like, okay, that could totally work. Let's give that a try. Let's dive into it in more detail.
And we're also looking for things that there's not other support for or not other good support for. Initially, we thought a lot about trying to do programming, and we have some ideas, but initially all of our ideas were things that you could do on a flat screen. So why would we do them in VR if they would work the same way on a flat screen, especially when we're talking about the classroom, because your common, ordinary classroom experience, that's just going to complicate, right? So really looking for those things that we felt and feel like there needs to be more tools for. So now that we've developed a few, we try and hit some other areas of computer science instead of going back to the same ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. Guys,
So you look at
any questions? Oh, sorry.
You look at code.org. I mean, it's just so extensive. They've done so much with it, or other similar platforms. There's just a lot of material for computer science learning that's out there. And so, yeah, it is a little challenging to find something that fits the area that's maybe underexplored that we can bring to life in VR.
Gotcha. Yeah. One second, I'll let someone into my real room. But if you have questions, guys, press the raise hand button right there.
Any more questions, anybody?
Don't see any more hands going up.
So do feel free to connect with us here, and we'll try and make sure we get back in once in a while. And
yeah, I guess last question from me. So I think I remember playing Network Collapse. It's single player, right? There's no networking to it yet, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's correct.
Have you guys thought about doing networking? Because I teach a class in virtual reality, and it'd be great to go with my students, but for people that teach remote, it's hard to have a single player app.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. It's more of a budget issue of anything. We've got the skills and talent on our team to do it. We just haven't had the resources to explore that yet.
Got you. And if you guys ever do look into exploring it, I don't know if you guys are don't want to use outside packages, but Photon is we use Photon networking for our app, so I think that's a great thing to look into if you guys ever explore that avenue.
Sure. Yeah, I've looked at that a little bit. It looks like a good package. Hopefully, we get there someday.
Awesome. Okay, so we're at 12:55 right now. Everyone, let's get some emojis for Nick and Ann for coming up and doing a wonderful presentation. Let's get some heart emojis, some love emojis.
Thanks everybody for attending.
Thank you. We really enjoyed presenting. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Okay, guys. So I think we're good for now. I'm gonna see if I get the screen working. I'm about to present, but awesome job, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I'm gonna come right back in. So get ready for our 1 p.m. presentation.
That was fun.
Make sure you take amplify off.
I did.
You all did a great job. I enjoyed
Thank
it
you.
very much.
Thank
I tried to keep the bad guys out of the room, but you know. Well, you did a good job. You did
Yeah,
a
that's
good
good.
job. There's a few that want to flip around here and there, so. No, you did a good job. There weren't too many distractions down there for us, so you did a
Yeah,
good
not
job.
at all.
Good, because we're trying to keep that cleaned out for you guys, but you all did a great job. Great job. Thank you.
Thanks.
You all
That
have
was
a
fun.
good day.
You too.
You too. Thank you, Lana. Uh-huh.
All right, Ann, I'm gonna sign off. See you back in the real world.
Yep, me too. Bye.
All right. Bye.
You guys, I want to give you a heads up that this room is basically done for this presentation. We have another one that I'm doing at 1 p.m. So about that, if you want feel free to do that as well. I'll hit the other room. So see you guys. I'm doing computer science and VR is what my event's called.
Oh, hey, hi there. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I'm about to head
Hi.
out though because I got a presentation.
Oh yeah, so I am doing the next presentation, I believe, here for XR Supergirl.
Oh, there's two at the same time?
I believe
Oh.
so. I mean, yeah, unless I'm supposed to be somewhere else.
No, you're completely right. I just didn't know that was happening. Okay, never mind, guys.
Okay.
My apologies. Stay here. Stay here. I am foolish. I'll also make an announcement in my room in case anyone accidentally left. So,
Yeah, so
my bad.
XR Supergirls, but you know what? I might go back to that community room to make sure I'm in the right spot because I don't see my moderators anywhere. So.
No, you should be in the right spot. Yeah. So the moderator
Okay.
should come. I'm gonna head out though, so I gotta go.
All right. Good luck. Yeah.
Good luck to you too.
Thank you.
Where's mine? Here we go.
Hello there, Tim.
Hey, Maya, how are you? I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
good.
I have
Yeah,
literally
I
just
wasn't
come
sure if
from.
I was in the right spot, so I just...
Yeah, no, you're absolutely fine. I've
Oh, it's
literally
so...
just jumped out of the Engage platform, which
Oh my
that session
gosh.
has just finished now, just to run
Okay.
over to you now.
Excellent. So let me
Right, now
get
then.
my presentation up, right?
Fantastic. Yes, please.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Everyone okay? Can you hear me? Give me some emojis if you can hear me. Fantastic. I'm going to put my... Right, can you hear me better now? Fantastic, thank you so much. We're just going to be a minute setting up. I've literally just jumped out of one session on the Engage platform to be here in Altspace. So we are jumping from one virtual world into another virtual world, which is amazing. And kind of tells you a little bit about what we're trying to do here. So it's all fantastic. So just give us a moment if you would. Thank you so much, and we'll be right with you.
Okay. So, down, and then I'll be right with you, Tim.
That's okay.
Sorry, I was here earlier, but I literally didn't know where I was, whether I was in the right spot or not. So here I am, trying to get things working. While I was here earlier, hang on. Okay, I just got the notice that my session is starting, so that's good that I'm here.
Yeah, I just put that out. I said it's going to be starting soon.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. So, hey, hang on. Why is that not coming up? Give me one more second.
That's okay.
I just need to get it into present mode.
Are you in Google Slides or in slides.com?
I'm in slides.com, so I'm going to start presenting. I'm going to open my speaker view, and hopefully my slides will come up like last week, right? So
Okay.
I have my speaker view open.
Right, what you might have to do is take the URL, and do you remember this icon down the bottom, when it brings up the bar underneath?
Isn't that only in Google Slides?
No, it's for slides.com as well. That's what links this screen to your presenter's view.
Okay, so take the URL.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Wait.
And then if you come over here, and you've got this little icon.
Oh, there? Oh.
Yeah. You see it looks like a little atom.
Yeah.
And then you click on that, and it...
Open that up?
Yep.
Okay.
If you click on that, and then you paste...
How do you do an in-browser control paste? That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me see if I can try and help you. 1 minute. I'll be with you in just a sec.
I could probably...
Maya?
I have actually got the Google Slides version, which makes it a little bit easier.
And
I can then...
just put it together. I can type it in, I think, pretty quickly.
It's up to you, or I can help control it. It's up to you.
If you guys give me 1 minute, I can figure this out.
Tim?
Yeah?
I don't know if she's using the megaphone. Her voice seems a little on the low side.
That's okay. We can sort that out in a minute. That's one of the checks I do just before we start, but thank you.
Okay, well, we could do Google too, so that's fine. Let's just default to that.
Okay. Shall I take over? Right, I tell you what, while I'm doing that, do you want to just double check your mic on your host tools? Make sure that you've got megaphone activated. Can you see that on the host tools?
Yes, I have it activated.
Fabulous.
Great.
Fabulous.
I know.
Just give me a sec.
Wow, this adds a whole level of complexity. Anyway, thank you.
I've managed to open it up in front of me, but that's not really what I want. Right. I'm just doing it now.
I also texted Laurel the SMS link too.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. This is great.
I can control that, okay?
Okay, or can I click by pointing at the screen?
Well, give it a go.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Maya Bartol, and I'm super excited to be here today. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the start, but let me just clear one thing before I get started.
Do you want me to give you a little intro first?
Oh, sure, Tim. That would be fabulous.
Shall I
Yeah.
do that? Just
Perfect.
just while you're
Orienting.
just while we're having fun.
Right. Trying to.
There we
Okay.
go. Right. Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Here we go. Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the next session, which is all about XR Supergirls, and we have Maya Bartol with us here today. She is the Program Development and Community Engagement Officer for XR Marin. Actually, I'm not going to say too much because I know that Maya wants to say a little bit about herself and what she does. So all I'm going to say is welcome to the session. This is part of the diversity track, and I co-host this session with Anna, who'll be with us shortly. And well, Maya, over to you. I don't think there's any more I can say.
Oh, well, great. Thanks for that awesome introduction. I'm super excited to be here today with my avatar to share with you our new program, XR Supergirls at XR Marin. And it's a program to encourage girls and young women to pursue the awesome potential, to pursue, what am I saying, science, engineering, technology, and math, otherwise known as STEM, through the awesome potential of XR. And before I get into that, Tim actually asked me to share a little bit about my journey to XR and how I became an XR Supergirl. So I think we're moving through the slides too quickly. Is there a way to go back? Tim? Yeah, perfect.
What I'll do, Maya, I will control the slides for you. So when you want the next slide, just say next slide and I'll move it on for you.
Perfect. So anyway, so about a year and a half ago, I attended an XR Supergirl event where I put on the goggles, and immediately I impulsively shouted out, "Oh my God, this is the future!" And shortly after that, I received I accepted my position in community engagement at XR Marin, and in that moment of putting on the goggles, I really felt the power and the potential for the VR platform. And it brought me back to my first role in tech, and that was as an undergraduate student, art history student at USC, where I needed to help pay for tuition, of course, and I took a job as a co-op intern where I worked 20 hours a week to help IBM launch their first personal computer for consumers. And there I really felt, like I did with XR, sort of that future potential of the technology. And so from there, while there, I learned that business was sort of boring. Technology was super cool, but I still had a passion for art history. So fast forward a few semesters, and I began working at Hughes Aircraft Missile Systems, and this was to help fund my graduate studies in art history. And there I helped them develop databases and knowledge management systems to develop this engineering program to recruit top talent from engineers. And upon graduation from graduate school, I declined their offer to join their corporate staff and moved back to my alma mater as an arts curator to start an exhibits program there. But while I was there, I got to use my tech skills to do some really interesting things. And I think we can go back to the first slide still. to do some really interesting things. And I'm not sure why the slides are advanced. Do you guys see student academies up there? Okay. So anyway, so while I was there, I worked with interdisciplinary research team with Apple developers to kind of create touchscreen technologies for preservation of rare books and manuscripts. From there, I met my husband. We moved up to the Bay Area during the dot-com boom. I started with the Asia Foundation. They, like everyone else in the universe, wanted to have a website on the internet. So they sent me straight to Stanford to learn how to implement and develop internet technologies for global organizations. And from there, I took a break to have kids, and if you know anything about children, it's not a break. But I took all that energy and experience and channeled it into my children, their schools, and their school districts to create some wonderful arts programs, and most recently, bringing computer science to my son's high school, while also developing an enrichment program in video game development with mentors from 2K. So XR really seemed a natural fit for me. It was a synthesis of my interest in art and technology and communication. And this is exactly the stuff I think that will really engage and excite our girls. And so getting the word out about XR Marin was a super easy thing. XR Marin, and I'm going to share that with you now. So XR Marin is a program of Marin County Office of Education. It provides opportunities for students in education and innovation, and again, in virtual reality, augmented reality, and 360 video. We're located just north of the Golden Gate Bridge, and it's about 20 minutes north of San Francisco. At XR Marin, we provide student academies in XR. They're free programs open to all students, grades 6th through 12th grade. They're hosted mostly after school, on some breaks, and in the summer. We are also bringing XR into the classroom as a transformative learning tool. And we do this with teacher collaboration with curriculum and teacher training. Next slide, please. We also, can we do next slide? I see.
Yeah, it should be XR teacher training, I can see.
Okay, so now we're moving from XR, from us bringing XR into the classroom. Next slide, please. To bringing it or to hosting industry workshops. And we do a lot of industry workshops. You can find what we do on our internet page, but we host everything from VR in education to exploring climate science to exploring sectors in training in construction management and even medical technician practices. So next slide. My favorite thing to do at XR Marin is is to share the awesome potential of XR with our community. And we do this at some of our most high profile and popular civic and cultural events. And our team really at XR loves to share how these new platforms are really changing the way we live, work, and play. Next slide, please. And finally, XR Marin focuses all of their programming through the lens of equity and access to education and tech. And so as the slide shows, that we really face many of the same challenges that educators across the US and globally face in getting adolescent girls interested and engaged in computer programming and STEM pathways. Next slide, please. So in April 2019, we launched our first Supergirls program. It was an empowerment workshop. its aim was really to introduce again, because XR is so new in our area, if you can believe it, just north of the Silicon Valley. So the aim was really to introduce our female students to XR. And so we created this event as a one-day workshop to introduce XR through demos. And then we had 3 keynote speakers who were women really leading the way in XR. We had Barbara DeHart, founder of Sama Learning, Susie Borders, a founder of Bad VR, and of course the amazing Sophia Batchelor, who then was a student at Berkeley and president of the VR in Berkeley Club. And after their keynotes, they were generous enough to lead small group mentoring sessions with our girls. And really, lead mentoring sessions with our girls. And that event really announced to our academic community, well, first of all, it had great attendance. We had over 50 students attend from middle school to high school. We also had mothers, female developers, and some industry leaders come and join in that empowerment session. And there's nothing more powerful than getting a group of women together and excited about XR. And that event really announced our commitment to supporting girls with access to STEM pathways through XR. And so it was our natural next step to really see how we could attract these adolescent girls. And really, 6th graders are age 11 to 12. And as research all shows us, that's the starting point where girls really begin to lose interest. So we really needed to create an exciting program to get them engaged so that they would take our XR student academies in the following spring. So we masterminded an idea and we created our Friday meetups that were really geared towards and targeted for middle school girls with little or no experience in tech. And this was so that we were able to build their knowledge in fundamental tech skills like 3D modeling, so that they would have the confidence to not only enroll in our future student academies, but also have the confidence to pursue STEM. And how these meetups were designed was we really wanted to give these girls connect their creativity and their desire to like make change in the world and connect it to real world people and applications in VR, so that they could see like clear pathways to STEM through XR. So our first lesson, we really, as a group, defined an impact theme. In our first case, which we piloted last fall, it was around ocean science and climate change. And we introduced that idea through a VR experience called Immerse, which was created by the Hydrus Group and led by the brilliant Dr. Erica Woolsey, who used her 360 captures to show not only the beauty of ocean science, but also the impacts of ocean acidification on our coral reefs. Lesson 2, we got the girls really engaged and hands-on. They could express their creativity through their models, so they developed all these cool little sea creatures. And we used blocks because it was an extremely easy way to introduce 3D modeling. And then the second part of the class, we took their tilt brush creations that they created in the first class and uploaded the sea creatures, and we got them collaborating together and designing this really powerful immersive experience. Next slide, please. So in lesson 3, it all came together. Next slide, please. It all came together where oops, I think we need to go back one, Tim. Yeah, thanks. So it all, we're on lesson 3. And
as my co-host.
oh, hi there.
Hey, Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Hello, I accidentally came on stage, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So anyway, lesson 3 really tied up, I think you need to advance about 3 slides, Tim. Lesson 3 pulled together, our tilt brush painting project where they created this beautiful undersea world. Then they created their 3D models of fish and blocks. And then the 3rd lesson, we again built those skills in 3D modeling. I introduced Oculus Medium, and that's a more sophisticated tool. So I really had them focus on organic. We still need to go 2 slides, Tim, thanks. And
forwards or backwards?
Forwards. We're on lesson 3 where we're using Google Medium to create these organic, beautiful coral pieces. And that way the kids would have confidence and they were simple forms to do. But lesson 3, we then took all of the models they made and had them design and upload their 3D experience. So the girls got to go into the immersive experience and place their 3D models and have bubbles surrounding them. And really, they named it In Our Ocean. And I think it truly is what they envisioned, a celebration of the beauty and diversity in our ocean that we need to keep in mind. So our next slide, please. The 4th lesson really tied together the idea of connecting STEM to real-world people and applications. And we opened that session with a video chat with a guest mentor, Sasha Samushina. She is the deputy manager of the Ops Lab at NASA JPL. And she was an amazing role model. She really connected how she was using science, art, and technology to create these immersive experiences to communicate to the public and research community the amazing science that was being done on Mars. And so during her talk, she was like sharing these amazing rectangular digital captures from Curiosity on Mars, and then explaining to our girls how she and her team edit them into these immersive experiences so that scientists can be on the surface of Mars at the same time. And anyway, so after that, the kids took these 360 video captures and went out of the building and did these captures. And of course, technology always fails. So they had to troubleshoot and work as teams to reconnect to the Wi-Fi, come in and edit their Tiny Planet projects. So anyway, this prototype program we launched last fall just really sparked excitement with our girls. They signed up for our Spring Academies this fall, which is super awesome. And so I think I could share some strategies to fostering an XR Super sisterhood for you guys. And really, I think clearly introducing XR through VR painting is the best way to do it. It gives people a sense of the VR experience and how to develop. And then I guess we are moving forward in the slides, so take them all in, but like, okay, so listening to your students and encouraging their personal voices. I mean, self-exploration is a huge part of becoming a leader, and being able to voice your ideas in a safe space really empowers them and builds leadership. And then creating the creative aspects to STEM by connecting it to their desire to be creative and make an impact on the world. Really, if you have I can't stress the importance of giving them a social impact theme to follow. Next slide. So again, going back to the safe space for expression and encourage a growth mindset, they really have to have an environment where they can take risks and learn through failure. And I think that's something that the girls, not only in our empowerment workshop, were really surprised to hear from their role models, but also in our meetups that, scientists don't have perfect careers. Science is iterative. You learn through failure, and oftentimes that failure can really spark innovation and their desire for entrepreneurship. And again, providing role models like we have throughout our program really connects the students to see women in roles so that they can see it, they can do it. So our Supergirls programs have been really exciting. They are building our capacities for our female students in leadership, next slide, and also providing them, in the next slide, providing them, the skills to prepare them for 21st century careers, so they can be the scientists, thinkers, innovators, and leaders of the future. So also our Supergirls program was great in creating mentoring opportunities for women in industry to really share their experience and foster this new sisterhood. So next slide. And so there's one of our mentors, a volunteer who came in through the Big Brother and Sisters program to help support girls in XR. So our next slide, please, is really our concluding slide. I mean, I really want to thank you for this opportunity to share our program and share how we are encouraging girls to engage in STEM through the awesome potential of XR. And I hope that you will join us in growing your own XR sisterhood. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you so much. That was
yes.
was fantastic. Let's have some emojis.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Maya, you're sinking into the floor a little bit over there.
Oh no, I didn't even notice this. Here, let me teleport up. Whoa.
There you
now
go. All right. So there's Maya's contact details if you want to get in contact with her. That was incredibly interesting. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Tim. Sorry for the technical glitches, but anyway,
it happens.
kind of threw me off a bit, but...
I mean, we're creating history here, so there's going to be the odd glitch or two, so it's just an amazing job.
Okay.
Okay, so, I mean, there's something I want to share with you, but I want to offer people the opportunity to ask questions first. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn on the opportunity to raise your hand. So you should now have an option appear on your right-hand side that says raise hand. Okay, so if you want to ask Maya a question, if you just want to click the raise hand button, okay, and then that will then come up as a list of people who want to ask questions. So if you'd like to do that now, if anyone wants to ask a question, please press that button now.
Okay.
Anybody want to ask a question? No? While you're thinking of a question you'd like to ask, I'd like to share something with you, not just with Maya, but with everybody. Just some research that I did about 4 or 5 years ago now. And I was asked to do some research on the question, why do we not have more girls in STEM, specifically computing subjects? Computing is an area that I teach. And one of the courses that I teach on is level 4 and level 5 HNC and HND in computing. And we wanted to ask the question, why is predominantly our cohort male? And I did a bit of research over about 18 months. And what it turned out to be was that between the ages of 8 and 12, they are the years where girls tend to be more influenced by things around them, whether that be at home, whether it be the parents, brothers, sisters, friends, even school teachers, anybody who's important to them can influence them between those ages of 8 and 12. And often it's times where girls are making their choices as to what they want to do. And it only takes a comment from somebody who they trust, like a teacher, to say, oh, you don't want to do that subject. Why do you want to do that for? Girls don't do that. And unfortunately, that happens an awful lot. And we were finding more and more from people we interviewed that they had been influenced in some way by somebody who was important and close to them, who clearly hadn't listened to what they wanted to do. And we then started asking the question, well, okay, well, what can we do about that? What are the ways that we can then turn that around and say to the girls in the community, look, you can do this. This is an amazing thing. And one of the things that we felt was that the use of role models, where female engineers who had gone into positions in major corporations like IBM, like Microsoft, and other organizations, were actually able to share their experiences and say, look, and it's very much what Maya is saying, your catch line is so true. If she can do it, so can I. You know, and that was the whole point, that let's get these role models out there. Let's get saying to the females in our community, look, you can do this, all right? And forget the people around you. If it's something you want to do, then you should want to do it, and you can do it. And I'm absolutely thrilled about the XR Supergirls program. When I saw your presentation for the first time, Maya, I was absolutely taken aback, and I thought, wow, we need more of this. Maya actually is, well, you're understating your influence actually, because Maya's been in the industry for quite a while. She's led many industry-breaking projects, and she's worked for some very large corporations that she's not really shared with you, but she's worked for some big companies in some good positions, and she is one of those role models, in my opinion, that we need to be putting out there and saying, hey, look, Maya's done this, you can do this too. And I just think it's amazing. What was interesting was that a year after I'd finished my research and I presented at a conference, Microsoft then did the same research, asking very similar questions, and came to exactly the same conclusions that I did, and exactly the same recommendations. Now, I'm not going to sue them for plagiarism, but, but I'm very glad that a company like Microsoft were putting out that message and saying, look, we need to do something about this. Girls, we need you in our industry. Please join us. And that's really what we're trying to say to everybody today. Okay, and I just wanted to share that with you because I'm so passionate about this. Okay, so we have a question. Well, you're welcome. It's all true and it's all amazing.
Wow.
Okay, so we have some questions. So, Panos, you're first up. What's your question, please?
Okay. Okay, first a comment about the whole thing with the role models. Yes, I totally agree, role models help, but if you have already been through all this primary and secondary education, then it's too late, because I think there are some societal norms that force female students to focus on literature, letters, etc., because maths are too hard, etc. And to be honest, like myself, when I was like in school, I was totally ignorant about who is a scientist, who is a researcher. So, you know, the role models are not enough. You need to change the societal norms. And on the other hand, about the role models, it doesn't matter if your role model is female or male. For example, my role models are all females, and you know, it didn't stop me becoming like them. Anyhow, and my question is, like in psychology now, the whole discipline evolves. And the thing is that my female colleagues, the majority of them, they are quite reluctant in like adopting programming in their research, etc. Sorry if I have missed like the first slides of your presentation, but have you tried something like that for, especially for programming?
What I can say is I agree with you about role models, and like they really don't have to be female, but I think what's really important is that they are someone who the role that the girls can really relate to and be inspired by. And I think it's really much easier for girls to imagine a career in STEM subjects if they see successful examples. And again, as our tag goes, if they can see it, they can be it, and understand the pathways to get there. So I think that's really the value of bringing them in is, I know early in my career when I saw the personal computer, I thought, wow, this is an amazing thing. It's super cool. Technology is great. But really, it didn't keep me in a tech pathway, so to speak. I didn't go in and change my major to computer science or engineering like some of my dorm mates who were, women in engineering. But it was a skill that, like, when I can look back as now an XR Supergirl, I could see that experience in tech, and specifically with IBM, helped really to open the doors for me, to give me that economic mobility and to allow me to curate a career that maybe, wasn't a straight ladder, but it was more of a jungle gym. But really, that base in technology fueled my career. And again, 20 years after raising my students, my sons as a stay-at-home mom, I'm diving deep into XR. So I think if girls can really see these examples and we can provide programming that connects the role models to hands-on activities and learning experiences, then I think we'll have more success in engaging girls not only in STEM, but also in computer science. So
absolutely.
I hope that
Banos.
answers
Thank
your
you.
question.
Lovely. Thank you, Banos. Good question. Thank you, Maya.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Banos? Or... Okay, we have one more question from Danger Sow. Sorry, I don't believe that. So I pronounced it correctly. Danger Sow. Okay, so would you like to ask your question, please? Sorry, Dangersaurus. Yeah. Sorry, it gives me the truncated version on my screen. I'm sorry. Dangersaurus.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I first wanted to start off with just the appreciation that something like this is being done, and I'm sure it's being done in other areas too, but that you've taken the time to put this together and bring it to the educators in VR. I would have loved to see this kind of program available when I was younger. I was, the only girl in my coding class at high school, and essentially had to campaign with my parents just to go to college. So this kind of thing would have been wonderful. And along those lines, if someone did want to set up a local program or even just find out how to encourage, one girl in their life, what would be the best way to connect with you or to find more information?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. And also thank you for your kind words. I think the best way to connect with me, if we could put up my last slide, I have all my contact information. Sure. But again, I think Tim spoke to this idea of that some of the research that Microsoft and Tim have really showed is that girls are really more likely to pursue STEM and computer science if they are encouraged not only by their mother, but their father, and also teachers. I think there was like 67% of the girls in their study who were encouraged by both parents really sought to pursue computer science and education. So a way, to start to build your community is really to reach out to, your schools in your community to see if you can champion exploring how to build a sisterhood. And I kind of did that with computer science at my son's schools, if you can believe. only 4 years ago, just north of Silicon Valley, their high school did not have, like many schools in our nation, a computer science program. And, how are our kids going to be prepared for the 21st century and a future that is increasingly integrated with technology? So anyway, I worked with a student group there and collaborated with the principal and key stakeholders at the district to really share my views on that and present solutions. So we started a lunchtime coding club, which was trying to teach, it was like trying to teach in 20 minutes during lunch. There wasn't enough time. So that evolved into an after-school enrichment program and gave the kids more depth and hands-on learning projects so they can really foster and develop their interest in applied computer science. And from there, they would host these industry talks and bring industry people into the school. So that actually helped launch the video game development program with mentors from 2K. We hosted a lunchtime talk with their former vice president of technology, and I asked the question, why is this room full of people? More people than the coding lab? And he's like, computer science can be very boring for most people if you don't apply it to something. And this is where I find XR to be really a powerful and exciting way for all students to get engaged, because there is that synthesis of art and creativity and tech, and it's a powerful communication tool. So I guess I hope that answers it, but I can give you some ways to and networks to reach out to maybe mentors that could speak to your community. So I'd be happy to do that if you reach out to me. Yeah.
Thank you. Excellent question. Thank you so much. Maya, we've been able to go through all of the slides, but the very last slide, which is actually showing for me, which is your contact details, isn't showing, which is a little bit odd, really. Now, what I would say is that could they just do a search for XR Marin?
Oh yes, our website is www.xrmarin.net. And you could just go to info, we have a contact page there. So just say, hey, I saw you in Educators at VR. So yeah.
Great.
I could,
so it's www.xrmarin, so it's xrmarin.net.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so is anyone wants to make a note of that? I'm so sorry. The last slide is showing for me. I don't understand why it's not showing for you, so I do apologise. This event is being recorded. It's being recorded, so this is going up onto the Educators in VR YouTube channel. Okay, so you'll be able to pick up the presentation from there and also be able to obviously find the contact details as well.
Terrific.
So,
well, thank you for this opportunity, and thank you.
It was awesome. Thank you so much. Let's give Maya a round of applause, please. With your emojis, lots of hearts. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Just to let you know that the next session is going to be in about 15 minutes time. So that's 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And that's going to be a spotlight event with Charlie Fink about setting the table for the next decade in XR. And then an hour after that, yes, it's going to be really interesting. Charlie Fink is an amazing guy to listen to. And then after that, we've got a couple of training sessions. All of this is in AltSpace VR, all about training requirements into immersive experience and also virtual reality for paramedic education. So there's a real variety of resources that are being put out your way. So please feel free to go to the events, select which one you would like, jump in and enjoy the event like hopefully you have today. So again, thank you so much, Maya. That's a very, very interesting talk. And it's something very close to my heart. So
it's been tremendous. Thank you.
Okay, my microphone's off.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, and have a lovely rest of the day.
Thank you, guys. Everyone have a good day.
Thank
Love
you.
Oops.
Everybody should be unmuted now, so you just have to unmute yourself to talk.
Yep, so everybody's unmuted and
Yeah,
able
everyone
to
should
chat
be
on.
unmuted now, so if you want to have a
We
chat...
can also take them to the
can do.
social lounge too. What do you think?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I'm about to be kicked out of my office because the campus security has come round. But if anybody wants to friend me, do it now, and I'll pick that up a little bit later on, and you can always chat over Altspace VR if you wish. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. It's been great. Thank you.
For everybody who's still here, we would like to encourage you to come to the social space to continue talking or asking questions and such. To get there, you go out the doors out here by the globe and take a left, and there's a teleporter right to that space. And we do encourage you to go there to continue any conversations or questions or meet some of the speakers. So, thank you.